Well, good afternoon, Aristo.
Good morning, Ron. How are you today?
I'm good, as we've already been talking, and you're
So,
feeling a little bit better.
I'm feeling up to snuff, at least for a video. I'm not 100%, but it's good enough.
There's been a lot of, as we've said, there's been a lot of people getting sick lately. My two grandkids were sick earlier in the week, and anyway, they're all better today. So let's go on with where we're going to go. I don't know where we're going to go. You don't know where we're going to go, but
I don't know either. But there is a general trend. You've been having, your own videos lately have been about religion, inner work. Basically, you've been bitching at God, as usual, and about needing a change in the world, saying that the change needs to be a collective change for everybody, and you're right, I believe that. At the same time, I don't believe it can be an all-at-once, snap your fingers, proof there it is. I also believe that we can have changes that are invisible to most of us. I also believe that we are challenged to be more sensitive to feel the changes that are happening that are invisible to most of us. And also to be able to discern true change from false change. Wishful thinking, false hopes, usually stuff that comes out of the media that says, oh, the change is around the corner, or it's gonna happen, or the disaster is around the corner. All kind of things that are meant to put static in our own discerning radar and to, basically confuse us and keep us from going within. I mean, a lot of people go within, but people keep looking at what crayons. I listened to this crayon recording the other day. Never listened to the guy before. The guy sounded something between Tony Robbins and Robert Schuller, the preacher, Glass House, Glass Cathedral.
I know what you mean.
And one of those telemarketing guys, He was incredibly passionate, an American sales pitch, that's what I would call it. Convincing from a certain emotional point of view, especially if you want it, but his message was basically, in my honest opinion, crap. Because this is what he said. The solution is the dark and the light. Okay, the dark and the light are battling, typical Zoroastrianism. And the solution is for the light to just dismiss the dark. Excuse me. Dismiss the dark and it'll go away. Are you in fear? Dismiss the dark. Well, we've said this again, and I don't want to linger on it. But the point is that you cannot dismiss what's going on in the world. It's easier, however, to try to dismiss what's going on inside of you. And then you can even not dismiss what's going on in the world, but if you dismiss what's going on inside of you, you might as well be dismissing everything. So the point is, what do you prioritize? Now, I'm going to jump here a little bit because I see some interesting things online and some things that are very hard to discern, in my opinion, unless you've had some experience and basically researched all of this. Now, as somebody said, I am old school spirituality. However, I'm also modern school science. So I've always tried to combine the two. I don't believe science and religion can be combined, but I believe science can give spirituality a certain opening of interpretation to at least let it ground in 5 sense experience to a certain point, as long as it's balanced with intuition, with heart, with feeling, even overbalanced with intuition, heart, feeling, and true desire. So, but I do believe that a certain pragmatic viewpoint will help ground things because there are certain interpretations that may not be in our favor. You see, spirituality is all about how we interpret, how we view it. You may have
discernment.
Discernment, exactly. Because you can have spiritual truth, 5 different people can see the elephant in the room, and all of them are going to be, oh, the trunk is a big snake, you know the story, oh no, it's a big blob, the belly, whatever, the ass is this. But nobody really sees the elephant, and let alone knows the eating habits of an elephant, how elephants reproduce, excuse me, where they go to die, whatever. Spirituality is the same way. going to say excuse me often, so please bear with me. But you see, spirituality is like that, and religion usually makes a big book about the trunk, or the foot, or the tail. You know, they take the hair of an elephant and turn it into a universe, and then try to describe every little nuance as the only truth. And the only use it has is to twist it and manipulate people. Otherwise, it's just foolishness. But people want easy. Discernment is something you cultivate. It is not something you have when you're born. Little babies discern in their own little way, but this is destroyed by socialization. And so, normalization, you might say. In order to become normal, we have to destroy our discernment. Otherwise, we're all going to be pointing out things we don't like. And if there are no solutions, we end up with pointing out things we don't like. This is what's going on in the, you know, in the movements, so to speak. Everybody points out what they don't like. Nobody has a solution, other than attempted solutions of the past, such as civil disobedience, bloody revolution. Go tell other people what's going on. You know, those are the three things that I know, at least, that most people keep saying because they've been done before. Nobody has any creative something else, and if they do, everybody else is afraid to try it or afraid to try it for themselves because it hasn't been done before. It's too risky. They don't want to waste time on it. They don't understand it. They don't take the time to understand it. So the establishment has the upper hand because they have the media, alternative and whatever. They have the funding, so they can repeat something, even if it's crazy. You repeat it often enough, people will pick up on it. And it'll be tried and true even if it's not. So people will think it's a solution. So a lot of things are like that. You have a lot of phenomena going on in the world that may not be explainable by the way science is today. So these are either ignored, excuse me again, or interpreted in a way that does not serve us. Case in point. Now, there's one of your Facebook fans who has her own site and all that. I respect this woman a lot. I don't have her name on hand. I'm a little woozy now. But I'll probably give you the link. She and some other people have been showing pictures of clouds. And these clouds have strange formations, obviously from the chemtrails, but in the spaces between clouds, you can see outlines that she and others say are crafts. And then she goes, and other people also have shown radar of weather fronts that are also clouds. And this is where I'm interested. And they show, okay, you can see the crafts outline on the cloud formations. Holographic, invisible spacecraft or something. I'm saying, okay, yeah. Now, this is a reality. It's one way to perceive this. Now, does this way serve us? If it's a craft, what are we going to do about it? Can we shoot it down? Can we call them down? Can we do anything? And in fact, she rightly also perceives that some of the clouds look like ghouls. You look at certain clouds and they got nasty faces on them from the top, from space. And these clouds are different than normal. The whole weather front clouds, with all the chemtrailing, our cloud systems have changed. So what is going on? Is this like some kind of, you know, random effect? Most people would just brush it off. Now, as I walk out, you know, this month, with all the crazy stuff going on in the world, and before, I feel negative atmospheric energies. I feel a negative atmosphere. And I heard other people, the air is really bad today. People getting sick. It's like it's humid, and it's like a graveyard, and it's this stagnant type of rotting fungal type of essence. Now, if you've known occultists, and somebody actually tries to throw a curse on you that makes you sick, you experience the same type of energy. And if you got into the work of Wilhelm Reich, he talks about orgone, right? This is the same type of feel that certain types of negative orgone energies, that's how you experience them. So I'd like to introduce a different concept that may be more useful, because you cannot fight a craft, but you can manipulate orgone. Okay, orgone is, to me, it's a biocompatible electromagnetic energy. Okay, it comes from the body, comes from all biological organisms. It also comes from the earth. It's based on the atomic structure of things. Basically, an orgone generator is a capacitor. You put an insulator and then a layer of a conductor, like a metal, and then another plastic insulator and then a conductor. And after you make all these layers, this is exactly how a capacitor is, a multi-layered capacitor. So you're trapping charge within the insulator. The conductor draws in the charge from the ambient atmosphere where it's diluted, and then it gets progressively shifted into the central conductor where your will can actually, the electromagnetic chi, whatever force from your hand or your own will can actually project it. So this is an orgone accumulator. That's what he calls it. And another way to make it is to basically take epoxy and put iron fillings in it. So you have conductors with, separated by insulators. Now the thing is, our terrestrial atmosphere is very similar. It's got water droplets, dust particles. So it's basically an insulator with a bunch of little nanoconductors floating around, right? It's actually like a semiconductor, because if you take the atmospheric charge and increase it, and the terrestrial charge increases, then you can actually have a spark going from the atmosphere to the ground. It's called a thunderbolt, lightning bolt. So there's actually a conductive path when you have a strong enough charge develop it. Okay, so the atmosphere is actually an orgone accumulator in and of itself, collecting cosmic rays. Orgone seeps through as an ambient electromagnetic energy that is either biocompatible or bioincompatible. It's either negative or positive. Negative is not bad. However, negative is toxic. That's the difference. That's how, see, I don't see things in terms of good and evil. I see the things in terms of healthy and toxic, okay? So toxic is actually good when placed in its own context. You should not eat crap, okay? But you can put crap to let nice little bacteria eat it and turn it into fertilizer and make it plant food. So everything in a true ecosystem has its place. There may be, but our own world may be a subset of a larger ecosystem. Perhaps there are alien forces on our planet that don't belong here, that need to be removed. However, when you take these paradigms of aliens and then you go, the government has to do something, we don't have the power. Well, why don't you look at the problem in a way where you do have the power? Shift the viewpoint. Well, that would be a lie then. Well, you don't have no clue what the truth is. If you shift the viewpoint to a point where you do have the power and then apply it, you actually can have some feedback, negative or positive, and you start from there. I would like to say you have no choice in the matter if you want to do something. I mean, you're not going to, convince the corrupt elite to change their minds. You can bitch at the aliens all you want, but if they were going to make a change, they would have done so. They have their reasons. You can even bitch at God all you want. And God isn't like, well, I'll think about it. Let's see. This is an omniscient being. Plans have already been made. Whatever the plans are, they've already been laid out in a certain way. Not deterministically, but in a way to say the ball's in our court, not in God's court. For whatever reason, the ball is in our court. So we may not like it, but on the other hand, there may be a bigger picture that we do not see. Now, the thing is here, as far as I'm concerned, I see the earth as a kind of humanity is here to solve a problem that nobody else can. God is coming in through humanity to help solve a problem of manifestation and creation in general. The premise of creation is separation. Without separation, there is no manifestation. Separation may be an illusion, but as you said, if an illusion is actually an experience, it becomes reality, right? So the separation has become far too real, so we need to temper it with unity. We don't want us to say, okay, forget all the separation, let's go to unity and be one. No, we're learning to play. We're learning to cook manifestation and say, okay, the premise was separation. In order to take unity and turn it into manifestation, you needed to have a hefty dose of separation, so hefty that manifestation couldn't continue, because what holds it together is unity. So of course there's going to be evil. Of course there's going to be suffering. The separation required to actually establish manifestation was too much for manifestation to keep going for long. So now the separation has to be extracted and replaced with unity in the proper proportion. Who the hell is going to do that? An external creator? If an external creator does that, then what happens to the free will, I mean, can that greater than embody manifestation? Because the action of an external creator from the outside would then imply a permanent separation between creator and creation. The only way an external or any creator could do something like that would be from both sides, from the inside of creation and from the outside, as an interplay. Because you have to draw in the unity. You know, it can't just be pressed in. Because manifestation is what calls the shots. Why are things delayed? Why is everything so messed up? Well, it's the nature of manifestation itself, built to contradict unity. Excuse me. So the whole thing is that we are in a situation that we're challenged to understand in ways we are not conditioned to understand, in ways that
non-programmed response.
Non-programmed response. Here's a hint, though. Remember what the fate of Wilhelm Reich was? They imprisoned him, they burned all his books, and he committed suicide in jail. Now, why would they go to such lengths for some guy who was just a psychologist with a whacked out theory? Because he managed to take an essentially occult concept and legitimize it as a psychological theory that was applicable. You can make your own orgone generator and you can bust clouds and it'll work. It's one of the few things in occultism that actually, or that supposed occultism that actually can work. You can feel it. Excuse me, you can feel it. It's like a kind of electrostatic force, you know, it feels like that. However, you can also imprint it with emotion. It's programmable. That's something they don't tell you, but that every occultist knows. It's not only programmable, but if you become one with it, if you connect your spirit with an orgone formation, you can infuse it with a viable essence that basically is in the image and likeness of your own will. And it can be sustainable and go do things for you. This is called a servitor in some occult circles, or an egregor when it's a collective thing. Okay?
Egregor?
Egregor.
Yeah, I recognize that from the Anastasia books.
Yeah.
That's the place where I've seen that word before.
Yeah, it's like a collective, a meme. It's a collective thought form, but it's living and it functions on its own. It's like a golem. The whole idea of the golem, it wasn't a physical thing running around like a monster. It was basically an energy, an organic being. You couldn't see it, but you could feel it, and it had impact on people's behavior. It scared the crap out of anybody who was going to try to bother the Jews in a certain ghetto area. It affected moods, and it affected events. It made minor changes in events. It was, you know, and it could get out of control. If it got out of control, because it sucks in energy, and there's a whole bunch of energy that's subconscious. Like you said, everybody has their demons, right? So, you know, it'll suck in some demons along with legitimate intent, and then it'll start getting quasi-psychopathic. Human beings usually repress their shadow, but when you have an entity like that, that's constructed, the whole Frankenstein monster thing is an etheric construct, not a physical one, in the occult sense. If you create something like that, its shadow will not be repressed. It has no repressor mechanism. It's basically like a robot, you know, an etheric robot. But it's actually more living and more sentient because it can acquire. Many people say gods, you know, are egregores. They're collective thought forms of human desire and intention that have come together, were fed from natural energies of the cosmos and the earth, so they're not just human desires, and these gods eventually acquired a life of their own. And that's why they needed worship and even sacrifice, because they feed. The more you give them, the stronger they become. Belief systems are the same way. We know that. You know, any belief system acquires a life of its own if enough people feed on it. And then you can start even witnessing miracles that the belief system, yes, see, it comes true. It's the belief system is proven. No, it's the faith of the people that have fed the program of, that is the belief system, and then the belief system comes true. That is the esoteric viewpoint. So I'm saying, these people, known occultists, are trying to program us in more ways than one. They're trying to use science as well as occultism in combination in order to create egregores and servitors and all kinds of things that are, and they have increased the conductivity of the clouds, so you have organic manifestations that are far denser within the clouds than they used to be, and they are trying to program them. And they program them how? With death, suffering, destruction. In order, they don't even have to program an ideology. That's too complicated, you know. That's not the way they usually, that's why black magic is easier. You just go make somebody suffer and project it onto somewhere, and then you have a monster, a ghost, that does your bidding. Because the soul of the person is gone, their actual human sentience is gone, but the construct of pain, because when people die, they tend to dissociate. They want to go off to heaven, off into the light. What's left behind? You know, you have a whole bunch of crap left behind, and that's why it's bad to kill a lot of people on the planet. What's going to happen with all that's left behind? Human beings carry toxins, but just like a boil has a whole bunch of toxins that don't affect the environment, as long as you don't lance the boil, you better be very careful when you start lancing that boil where the pus is going to shoot out, right? So this is what I'm saying. I'm saying that these people are out of control occultists, toxified by their own occultism, driven crazy by their own demons, as the ambassador calls it, because most demons, true demons, are programs. The story of the computer that takes over the world, you know, the 666, the beast. These demons are like cells of all the shadow that we don't accept, because 666 as a number simply means network of interconnected unions, interconnected patterns. That's what 666 means. You know, if you take the Hebrew meaning, it's a medium, an ocean of a network, a fertile ocean of a network of interconnected fertilizations. Because 6 is the number of the phallus, of the penis. And it's also a nail, and it's a pivot, and it basically is a balance point, and all of that. So you have nodes and a web and a network, and this doesn't have to be an electronic computer. It can be an organic computer. There are so many things in the subtle realms that are far more effective as far as the human nervous system is concerned than any kind of electromagnetic or hardwired technology. However, we're taught to think that there is no such thing as subtle technology. Subtle technology is invisible. You cannot see it. Occult technology is not about pushing buttons and cranking levers and cranking shafts and cogs and all that. It's about the will and the mind and the desire and all of these things. So there's a whole occult technology out there that is neither good nor bad, similar to our regular technology. We do not know how to use this technology. We do not know how to apply it. However, as somebody who's been researching this, I can see that many things going on in the world are the result of occult technology. As a scientist, if I was doing research in a think tank and I was open-minded, I would try to take traditional occult methods and make them up to date in order to create occult doomsday machines. What certain apocalyptic myths talk about, opening the gates of hell and the horsemen of the apocalypse rise out and blah, blah, blah. You know, stuff like that. However, all of these are misinterpretations of texts that have to do with natural transformation and transition. That's how we can turn this around. This is a cancer. You can view this like a cancer. And human beings have been created in the image and likeness of the divine as the body of the divine, to be able to embody the divine. And say, how do I embody the divine? Well, you've talked about this a little bit. The kingdom of God is within you, right? Actually, we are the kingdom of God. The human body embodiment in the image and likeness is the kingdom, and the king sits on the throne in the heart as the person's deepest core identity. So essentially, when you speak your truth, you do not obey God, you speak as God. Now, this is considered blasphemy in some circles. However,
Yeah.
consider blasphemy, but we're talking about speaking your deepest truth, not your ego, not your psychopathic shadow. So know thyself is very, very important, because know thyself is the path to knowing the divine. And knowing the divine is the path to understanding the divine and being the divine. And that doesn't mean being at the top of a pyramid, controlling everybody. You are the, you know, because we are manifest, which means there's a whole bunch of others just like us. You know, what happens with them? We start a war to see who's God, who's the big kahuna. That's what the psychos want. They think they're going to kill us all off. What are they going to do? Then there's only going to be one left standing, and they're going to be all meaningless, so they'll just kill themselves. I mean, it's completely a death wish. That's what cancer does. Cancer kills the body, and then it dies. They're not even parasites. This is psychopathy. This is the weitko. And the weitko is not a sentient organism. However, it is driven, in my honest opinion, by a principle of existence that is the opposite of existence and doesn't belong here. It's a principle, basically, of hatred of existence that we need to find within ourselves and release. By how? Loving ourselves, loving life, and finding where that doesn't click within us. You know, I say, okay, I love myself. And then you say, nah, I'm an asshole. I don't love myself. Or I can't love. What a jerk. You look in the mirror, I can't love that idiot. You know, well, what's there? Okay, the judgments. You take out the judgments. You can, repentance just means get the judgments out. Say, no, okay, that's judgment. I don't believe that. That's crap. I don't believe the other thing. So what's there not to love? And then if you keep digging deep enough into all those disturbing cognitive dissonant things of disruption inside, you're going to find a core of hatred that has no reason other than just being itself. I hate life. I hate existence. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I don't care if you give me paradise, give me the best. If you give me God, I hate God. I hate everything. It's not even any Lucifer thing. It's not a Satan thing. It's not a revolt. It's basically, in order to establish existence, you need the opposite. You know, you need existence doesn't exist in a vacuum. It exists in a void of its own contradiction. It exists, that's where infinite possibilities lie. I mean, in order to have infinite possibilities, you need nothingness. So if you try to extract nothingness and force it to be something, then it hates you. You know, this is something only God can do. But this is the sin of God. God tried to love everything. God even tried to love the part of himself that didn't want to be existent, not manifest, but existent, period. Oblivion. There is a possibility within the infinite spectrum of essence, existence, wanting to remain oblivious, you know, and God didn't respect that because he didn't know. I love, God is love, so let's love all possibilities. Now, if you really love that, you're going to leave it alone. You're not going to force it to manifest. Once it becomes manifest, separation then doesn't allow you to see it, and it gets into manifestation, and it starts mutating everything, and we have cancer. So now we have to extract this thing. That is my own personal existential view of the big picture from everything I've observed. And I've been working with this. But this is at the heart of the psychopath, at the heart of the shadow. And it's very hard to discern because we haven't even begun healing our victimhood. We haven't even begun. Who really knows what's going on in the lunatic's mind? I mean, in the real hardcore cannibal, child molesting, psychopath, Joseph Mengele mindset. I mean, we really don't. If you do, then you have to go insane a little bit, and there has to be enough of you to stand back and observe it to be able to have a sense and not get lost in it. It's too disturbing. We don't even want to face how much we don't like ourselves. We don't even want to face how much we're afraid, you know, and be able to stand and love ourselves for being afraid and love our fear itself, because fear is simply misplaced excitement. You know, it's simply despair, you know. Chinese medicine helps in doing these things. I mean, if you want a piece of practical advice, Chinese medicine has a very balanced viewpoint. I mean, you guys talk all about, in the group with the Red Dragon and stuff, you talk all about Christian doctrine. I'm like, look, man, people need something practical to deal with all these upsets. And Chinese medicine really has it, because it helps you deal with your negative and positive emotions in an organic manner in terms of your energy channels, everything. A very simple thing is to just hold your finger. Hold one finger, it connects your palm with certain energy meridians, and you start with your thumb, You move to the forefinger, then you go to the little finger, then the ring finger, then the middle finger. These basically connect to different organs and stuff, and if you do that in both hands, it helps balance you out. Because every energy has it, when it's repressed, exhibits a negative version. The kidneys, for example, are a form of wisdom, but if they're repressed or overflowing or not balanced, then it becomes fear. Fear, however, when channeled, becomes excitement, and that excitement empowers your wisdom, your ability to apply experience. That's what wisdom is. The lungs, for example, have righteousness, but true righteousness, justice, your sense of justice, your sense of ideals. It's your sense of inspiration and wanting to, move toward to establish. But if it becomes blocked, it becomes despair. If you have your sense of righteousness stomped on, you fall into despair, and et cetera, et cetera. There's all kind of organic reactions. When you fear, you piss yourself, okay? So the urinary tract is connected with these energies. The counterpart of the lungs is the large intestines. If you're in despair and they hang you and you die, you completely let go and can't stand up anymore, you crap yourself. It has to do with fear as well. But there's all kinds of organic reactions. So I'm saying, I can't tell you in this little video about Chinese medicine, but I'm saying, look into Qigong, look into Neiko, look into all of these things, and they might help you integrate the body and the mind to deal with these negative orgonic imprints. That's what I believe these cloud formations are. And also terrestrial formations we cannot see, and other atmospheric formations, electromagnetic formations we cannot see from cell phones, the media, they're orgonic programming. This is a level that you will not hear on Alex Jones or anywhere else. And notice that all the crazies out there, and all these people talking about occultism and fundamentalism and the extraterrestrials and disclosure, they don't kill or incarcerate any of them. Why did they kill Wilhelm Reich, who just was some psychologist trying to help women have orgasms? Because he hit a certain nail on the head that was applicable to the common person. You can actually learn to sense these things, and once you learn to sense them, you can learn to perceive them, and every occultist out there works with things like this, modern occultists, let alone these crazies who are organized and have mass rituals and have access to the Great Pyramid and who knows what else, and human sacrifice. So they're out putting a lot of crap trying to convince us all to die. That's what they're doing. It's a mass hypnosis with an organic, energetic imprint on the human body that affects the human nervous system. And of course it's going to seem, where's God? With this cloud, they're blocking out the sun. It's not just the sun that they're blocking. That's symbolic. They're trying to block out the inner sun. Okay, so we, however, have the advantage because human design, human DNA, even if latent, is a subtle technology far beyond any kind of crap like that. Okay, because we are orgone generators extraordinary. We can generate thought forms. We can focus on our own issues seriously. We can learn to regain our health. We can use our will to counter the program. Once you know it's a program, all you have to do is just call it. Call it in yourself and seek an alternative. Not a belief. We think beliefs are going to do shit for us. They're not going to do anything for us. It's our will. We believe in ourselves and say, I choose life. I don't have to believe in life. Life isn't a given. I believe in God. No, I don't know. I choose God. That's what they say. That's what the religions even say. Choose the belief system. I choose the God within me. I choose to be the kingdom of God. It's not a given because free will exists for that reason. Why? Because when you make the choice, you become a perfect reflection of the divine. You talk about this Michael guy. It's really funny because the Archangel Michael who is God. That's what the name means. And again, we talked about that in another video because that is what the big question is from the heavens. Who is God? You say, I am. And it's not Lucifer either. I am the real one, because I am the kingdom. And the kingdom is waiting for its occupant. And the only way the kingdom is going to receive its acumen is to choose it. But the choice is our own principles and deepest truth. Okay, I've gone all over the place over here. I hope you can make sense of it. But there's a lot going on, so my delivery is going to reflect the confusion of the world. You know, but I believe if you do ponder this, you are going to get something out of it. Hopefully we can continue in a more clear form. And sorry for the coughing, I'm just a little bit under the weather myself.
Thank you, Aristo. And, you know, you're as clear as I've been lately because I've been jumping all over the place, too. So,
sign of the times.
And sometimes one day I'm contradicting what I said on another day. Like I'm saying it's all outside, and then I'm saying it's all inside. And which is
Exactly. It's a paradox. That's why they call you the paradox man. We live in a paradox world.
Thank you. We'll see you next week. I'm going to just stop.